Okay. Okay, we're through with the public hearings. We do have one item left, and that's dealing with a general plan amendment referral status for GPA 2007-3 Shea Home, St. John's Seminary. Do we have a staff report?
Yes. Thank you, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council. We will be providing the City Council with a status update on the general plan amendment referral application for 2007-03, the St. John's Seminary project under the application of Shea Homes. We'll start with a brief background on the referral history. January of 2007, the City Council agreed to refer the Shea general plan amendment application for the St. John's Seminary property. And in June of 2008, a notice of preparation of an environmental impact report for a residential project on a portion of the St. John's Seminary property was prepared. A specific plan draft was put into preparation and work commenced. Then in February of 2013, based on updates from technical studies as part of the environmental analysis, a second notice of preparation of an EIR was prepared and distributed. And the draft EIR was never put out for public review. The project description was evolving, and studies were being enhanced and refined. Shea put the project on hold due to economic downturn while they continued to have work performed on the environmental analysis and technical studies. Then in the summer of 2014, Shea completed some updated market studies and updated their pro forma for the project, which resulted in some updated project concepts. It's important to point out that a new project description would restart the environmental review process, and that would most likely require additional technical studies. This slide demonstrates an aerial photograph of the subject site. The overall St. John's Seminary property is 134 acres, and the original general plan amendment referral addressed the entire site. However, it was ultimately focused to 90.6 acres for the eastern portion of the property for subject residential development, with the far west being preserved for a park and trailhead facility. So as noted here on the aerial photograph, the entire property is just north of Upland Road and just to the east of Lewis Road and just west of the Pinnacle residential neighborhood development. So as I indicated earlier, Shea has updated their project concept, and while we don't formally have a very detailed project description, as a result of enhanced market studies and updated pro formas, they have come to a revised concept, and I will point out the differences between what was originally proposed for referral and what is the current concept that Shea has now begun analyzing. So originally, there was a proposal for between 390 and 430 total residential units, and now they're proposing between 270 and 290, so they've reduced the number of units overall. Originally, they anticipated providing a mix of attached and detached housing products that would all be 2- and 3-story structures that would have 2-car garages and guest parking. They've updated their concept to have traditional single-family detached units along with some detached and attached cluster housing product. One big difference is that the new concept they're proposing would be primarily single-story with some small second-story bonus space, but all functional living would occur on the ground floor. They are also proposing 2-car garages. Most of those garages would have driveway aprons, and they will be providing additional guest spaces and clusters with designated guest parking, and they've been monitoring the parking updates that the council has recently enacted, and they feel that they could satisfy that criteria. The original project was proposed to be open to your traditional retail housing market, and the updated concept would be age qualified, and it would be a requirement that property owners would be at least 55 years of age or more. The original development was non-gated, had open access, and now they're proposing gated access with private streets. There was a centralized amenity for residents anticipated with the original concept, and that remains. They do want to provide an enhanced walking trail system with additional open spaces and pocket parks as part of the updated concept. They've also preserved the original plan to provide a 7.6-acre agricultural heritage public park and a regional trailhead off of the Lewis Road area. So I just wanted to point out, before I outline some of your options, there were some questions related to the funding agreement between Shea Homes and St. John's Seminary. And information was provided in your staff report, and the applicant is going to provide a detailed PowerPoint presentation on their updated concept, and they will be available to answer any questions relative to the proposed funding of the transfer of the ownership of the property. I did want to also point out that the former college campus buildings are vacant and in a state of deferred maintenance, and the balance of the property is mixed with irrigated orchards and some landscaped areas, but there are also some landscape areas that are in a state of deferred maintenance. However, the graduate seminary campus remains in use, and the grounds surrounding the campus are very well maintained. So the council has at least 4 options that we've prepared for them to consider this evening. The first would be to make a motion to allow the general plan amendment referral for the project to remain in place and continue to process the general plan amendment. The second option would be to make a motion to amend the general plan amendment referral for Shea Homes to have continued processing and study of this most recently proposed updated development concept as described by staff and will be further described by Shea for future consideration of a general plan amendment. The third option would be to make a motion to rescind the general plan amendment referral for Shea Homes and direct staff to stop processing this general plan amendment. And then, of course, you have the ability to come up with an alternative motion to provide direction to staff regarding the general plan amendment referral. So, Mr. Kevin Harbison, the Community Development Manager with Shea Homes, will now be providing a presentation of the current project concept. Following his presentation, I would be available for any questions, or if you had any questions for me at this time, I'd be happy to answer those.
Okay. Before we start the presentation by Shea, is there any questions of Joe Vaca or staff?
After.
Okay, all right, fine. Okay, who wants to make the presentation? Please come forward and identify yourselves.
John Danvers with Shea Homes. Kevin is here with me as well, and he'll be speaking more to the specifics of the project. Thank
Yeah,
you.
kind of speak into the microphone if you would. That's
Will
pretty
do.
directional.
Yeah.
Okay. So I briefly wanted to touch on the history of what's been going on with this project for the last 8 years. Mr. Vaca's done a fine job touching on that already. He mentioned that 2007 was when the general plan amendment referral was approved by City Council, and it was indeed to switch the general plan use from agricultural to residential, and that remains our objective today. I did want to point out, and then again it was touched on previously, that the quality of the existing agriculture use out there is very poor. Most of the trees are over 40 years old. Some studies were done, part of the EIR, indicating it's not a viable agricultural use, and that there's no significant impact by eliminating that agricultural land. So you'll see we kind of put together a timeline here that walks us through year to year what we've been doing. And again, since it was touched on earlier, I'll try to keep this pretty brief and let Kevin get into the details of our plan. But the message I'm really trying to send is that we have been actively and continuously pursuing this project. 2008 is when we really got into producing the EIR, producing the specific plan, going back and forth with City, doing outreach meetings on the project itself. In 2009, we got some formal comments back on the specific plan, and understand that by processing both of these documents at the same time, it was a very iterative process. So if one thing changed in one place, it kind of had a very big ripple effect. Going through into 2010, we updated some of the technical studies. As you go through layers of CEQA and sometimes the regulatory climate changes, additional things are necessary to study. So those were ongoing technical studies. In 2011, we updated both the EIR and the specific plan based on those previous comments. We added a three-dimensional grading plan to help kind of understand the contour and topography of the land. And in 2012, we did some further updates to technical studies. Thought we had the specific plan pretty well wrapped up. And going into 2013, our goal was to publish the EIR. We decided, jointly with the city, that it was necessary to republish a notice of preparation, giving all stakeholders an opportunity to review what we were trying to do with this property. Out of those comments to the notice of preparation, we were required to update the traffic study, which we did, which in turn led to 4 sections of the EIR having to be updated again. We got that complete towards the end of 2013. We're again at that point where we thought we were about to go to circulation, kind of did a final review of that document, and it was determined that because of the age of some of the sections and because of the revisions to some sections and not all, that we had some staleness issues and some inconsistencies within the documents, and that we basically had to update the whole document kind of top to bottom. So that was when 2014 came around. Here we go. So at that point, we took pause and decided if we're going to have to start this process over with the EIR, we wanted to look at all the potential land uses, make sure we're moving forward with the best possible plan. We studied and dismissed several non-viable uses and landed on the active adult or the adult lifestyle community that Kevin's about to present to you here in a moment, which again, in terms of footprint, is very similar to what we've been processing before. In terms of product and the targeted market, a little bit different. And it also brings reduced impacts that we think are better for the community overall and better for the entire project. And I forgot to mention in that 2013 discussion on the traffic studies were obviously done. I know an issue had been raised earlier about traffic on Upland Road. We heard that at our community outreach meetings in the last few months. And what those studies determined was that the project at that time, which was more intense than what we're looking at now, did not reduce service below C within the city, and that the studied intersections had no negative impact, and that a traffic signal wasn't warranted. But I will go on record saying we would support, if the city would so desire, a traffic signal at Upland at the entrance to this proposed project. So going back into where we kind of are now, we started community outreach once we settled on this age-qualified and active lifestyle concept. We've done some additional outreach and sort of spiffed up our presentation information so everybody really understands what we're doing. And we've got a proposal for the new updated EIR that we're ready to launch, and we have gone ahead and launched an update to the specific plan. So all the while, over the last 8 years, our objective and goal have really remained the same, and that is to enhance and ensure the short-term and long-term success of the graduate seminary by significantly bolstering the seminary's operating endowment and eliminating the need for a subsidy from the Los Angeles Archdiocese. And with that, I will turn it over to Kevin Harbison for some project specifics and will remain available for questions. Thank you.
Good evening, council members. Kevin Harbison, Community Development Manager with Shea Homes. And I'd like to take this opportunity to walk you through our updated plan for the seminary property. It's an active adult lifestyle plan. And when we talk about that, we're really talking about the target group that would be interested in this type of community and what they're looking for, which is the wellness, personal connections, freedom, health, really staying in the area which they currently live. This is really a targeted boutique type of community, as opposed to what a lot of people think of a traditional retirement community as a big, large golf course centered retirement community out somewhere not in the same vicinity of as the members may have lived. And this particular consumer is looking to downsize, simplify, reduce or redirect income, maybe have a lower maintenance expenses and just, in their time. Retaining existing family connections. Again, we feel strongly through market research that the market for this particular community is from this area. And that's very important that, the consumers can stay close to family. Social environment's a big component of this, and you'll see in the actual composition of the plan that consideration is taken into account. And then the relax, learn, travel, enjoy. A lot of people are redirecting expenses, maybe downsizing from a larger house, and be able to use their money for other enjoyment. What I want to do with the next couple of slides is demonstrate the model that we're working off of. And these communities are not readily found. There's actually not very many of them in Southern California, but we found that they're very highly successful. And again, this is that boutique, very intimate, interactive, active adult lifestyle community. One example is in Santa Clarita, Belcaro. One thing I want to point your attention to is the number of units. That's very important because it provides a nice intimate social component, but it also provides the support for a nice amenity without raising homeowners' dues too high where it becomes unaffordable. The next one is San Clemente, the gallery. Again, very similar makeup with the number of units, the amenity, and the things available to the residents. And then finally, this particular community down south in Rancho Mission Viejo, we're participating in this development, and you'll see that the model is somewhat identical to the other communities. The amenity is a huge part of this plan. It provides a social anchor, kind of a jump-off point for activities and events, and a recreational focal point. And we've actually co-located, and I'll show you in the plan when we get there, but we've co-located this in a really good area to allow residents to meet and then access other parts of the property. Architecture types, again, this is important in terms of giving a good range of square footage. We're single-level living primarily on the ground floors, but also allow some affordability depending on where you are in the price spectrum. The first product that we're offering is the traditional single-family detached, and you'll see that the attention is really put on the social part of the floor plan, and that's living, kitchen, outdoor, that really hub of the floor plan. Very, very nice appointments and very high quality. Got a great master bedroom and then maybe a second bedroom for guests.
What are the square footages of these? Could you relate those as you go through?
Sure. The square footage of the traditional single family right now is 18 to 26. We have a motor court cluster that ranges from 1450 to 22, and then motor court duplex 12 to 19 at this point.
I think he's talking about, as you're showing the pictures, which one, what were they?
Right. This is the traditional. Yeah, this is the traditional single-family detached. So that would be on the upper end of the square footage, ranging all the way up to about 2,600 square feet. Motor court cluster. These are detached, so it's a detached living, small bathrooms, maintenance-free, but you really get a nice social component with that common driveway. We find that people that live in these kind of clusters tend to interact quite a bit, and it's kind of a feature. One thing you'll see in the picture is that we got the pop-up bonus spaces that staff had talked about, and those aren't massed across the actual house, but just additional space. Functional living is done on the ground floor. And then the smallest of the 3 product offerings would be the motor court duplex, which is similar to the other motor court cluster, just with the rear 2 units put together as a duplex. Again, I want to point out the home features. It's important to say, hey, this may be a move-down option, but the buyer is not going to sacrifice on quality here. And so the spec and up standards that will be put into these homes is of the highest level. I think my next slide is loading. There we go. Just an orientation, and this staff had this in their report as well. The Seminary property down in the lower left is Padre Seminary Parish. Down in the lower part of the screen is the Pinnacle residential community. Then we have the proposed development area, which is the undergraduate campus, the defunct undergraduate campus, the existing and functioning graduate seminary, and then up along Lewis Road is the proposed public park and trailhead acreage. The agricultural public park and trailhead, this is a conceptual rendering. There is a historically significant structure on that property that we are going to maintain and integrate into part of the plan. I also wanted to talk a bit to the one of the initial options that was studied in the original EIR and specific plan. This is the original medium density site plan, so you can kind of get an idea of the development footprint for which the referral was granted, and you can see with our active adult update that it pretty much remains the same. So the big difference is the reduction in the number of units and the market that we're trying to target. So this is the layout. We have the amenity. I don't know if I can use there we go. This is where we have the amenity location, and this area here is actually existing historical grove. The seminary's had trees donated to it from around the world over the years. We're going to maintain that, enhance that, and integrate that in the community. We also have extensive walking trail system throughout, and the next slide will highlight that walking and amenity plan. Again, very important to this type of development model. And then we wanted to give some perspective views of the current condition and what we're proposing. This would be actually taken from, we took the most elevated home of the Pinnacle community to the east of this property to take these renderings. And this would be elevated up from that particular property. But in the top, you can see the existing state with the current structures, and there's a pool area over here, ball field, that it's like staff had commented is in a state of deferred maintenance. And then this would be the view from once the development is complete and after some maturing of landscape. This is from the same location, but actually at the backyard of a property owner. And this particular property owner was actually in one of our community outreach meetings and said that we got this pretty close to accurate. So above existing buildings and then below what the view would look like. And this screen of eucalyptus trees existing, we plan to maintain that in place as a nice buffer between the two communities. There we go. This is a view of the entry to the community, the gated entry to the community. And you can see up above where that would be in relation to the plan.
That's off of Upland?
Correct. That's Upland, right alongside Padre Seminary Parish. View 3 would actually be as you come through the gate and around the first corner, down what we're calling a spine road or entry road into the community. We really wanted to make that a nice entry, non-parking street to increase the walkability and greenness of the entry into the community. And then this perspective is taken from a location that shows the street scene of one of the single-family detached section of one of the single-family detached section, and also how that works alongside the Pinnacle neighborhood, since the Pinnacle neighborhood is the closest in proximity to this property. So the summary of the community would be 270 to 290 residents in the same vicinity as the previous communities that I've spoken. It's age qualified 55 and over. We are proposing a 10% moderate income qualifying price for this community. Clubhouse and related recreational amenity, walkway trail system, and then again the gated entrance. And I'd like to point out the benefits and opportunities of this plan. First of all, the traffic, and like John had stated, we have gotten feedback in community outreach meetings of the concern for the safety along Upland Road. And one thing that we've found is these kind of communities generate far less traffic and usually traffic's off-peak. Residents aren't having to go to the office or drop the kids at school, so they tend to drive on off-peak hours. So that's a benefit. No impact on the local schools. Not saying that people in this age category wouldn't have children, but generally speaking, the ones that want to move into this kind of community are usually empty nesters or don't have children with them. Serves a large unmet demand in the region. Again, market studies that we've already conducted indicate that the market is right here in the area. So we feel there's an extremely large demand for it. And we've seen a large demand in other locations where this was done. Single-story living, which helps with the views for the neighbors around the area. The affordable housing component, the public park, and then most importantly, and the whole point of the project is the preservation of the actual seminary with the enhancement of the endowment. And that that does support local jobs in the area of people that actually work at the seminary. So with that, that's my presentation, and I'd be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Thank you. Any questions of either of the presenters?
I have a question.
Yes, Kevin.
Yeah, maybe you could kind of update me a little bit. Years ago, have you looked at any other uses of this property? And years ago, there was a rumor that a high school was interested in that. And I had heard, it's been a number of years ago too, that a college was interested in actually going up there and seeing if that would work. Was there any other uses that you were aware of that are out there?
John, I'm going to let my colleague John Danvers answer that.
John Danvers again. Most of those inquiries from these other uses went directly either to the seminary or to the archdiocese, so we weren't directly involved either, but yes, basically we heard the same things, that private high schools had investigated the property, determined it really wasn't viable because even though there's buildings there, the amount of retrofitting that would be required was just astronomical cost-wise. Private universities as well basically came to the same conclusion. So there's been several entities sniffing, I guess, but nobody biting.
And as I recall, I haven't been up there in quite a while, but there was a library up there, and there was some talk that they might be able to save that library and use it for something else. Is that still on the docket there?
The library is intended to be preserved. Yeah, it's outside of our development limit, just barely, so it would be preserved as is. And the graduate seminary folks use that actively. They actually have some very old historical documents in there, so they kind of treasure that property.
And then as far as the access to Padre Serra Church and whatnot, will that impact that ingress and egress at Padre Serra Parish in any way, shape, or form that you're aware of?
Yes, there would be a modification. So there's 2 driveways coming into the Padre Serra Parish now. The more westerly one would be closed off and replaced with our entrance, and then there would be an entrance off of our entrance into Padre Serra as well. So they'd still have 2 points of access, but one would come, on the public side of the gate, back out to Upland rather than directly out to Upland.
And have you had a discussion with the Archdiocese on that and whatnot?
Yeah, absolutely.
You have? Okay. So run that by me again. Exactly where is it?
Maybe it'd help if I could get that slide back up because it's kind of hard to visualize without seeing it. Yeah, it's a little small at this scale, but can you somebody hit it with a, there you go. Oh, but yeah, basically right there. So you'll see.
Right there.
Yep, that's that right where
This
the
shows
arrow
the
is.
shared access to the Padre Serra. So this would be a primary public access, and the gate would be somewhere back in here or in here. And this would be open and accessible.
So they would merge and then make a real quick left and go right down. Is that right? That how they're going to leave if they're in the parish there? They're
They
gonna
could go
merge
out
right
this
there,
way, turn
real
left,
quick
and then they
left,
could go
and
either left or
there.
right.
Go in, they make it right.
And they would also preserve access here to the parish.
Correct. Thank you.
Keep in mind, this is conceptual.
Right.
By the
And
way,
there'll be a buffer between, as I see, there's a buffer between the parish right now and the first houses there in back of the parish there. Is that right? Am I seeing that right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Earthen berm buffer or shrubbery of some sort. I know this is conceptual, but
Right.
Yeah, it will be actually a slope going down. There's a berm up the Padre Serra Parish property right now, and then at the property line it would be a slope down to the residential pad, and then you can see the rest of that area is pretty much open space, no residents backing up too close to it.
Okay, any other questions of the?
Your Honor,
Can we ask about what
Sure.
your second point of access?
I'm sorry?
Your second point of access in and out of this community?
For the property, there's been several different opportunities studied. No final one has been selected yet. It's kind of hard to see on this slide, but if you can see at the very bottom right corner of the property, of the image there, there's a water tank. So just to the left of that, there is a access road that runs out to Worth Way. Well, that's another access road as well. So there's that one there that runs out to Worth Way. There's an existing access road that just parallels the property line and goes all the way out to Upland, which we see as the preferred option. And then a third option would be to weave through the Graduate Seminary and back out to Upland.
Your Honor,
Yes.
a couple of things I wouldn't want to see weaving through the seminary. Pretty soon the church is saying, oh, we can't have what we're doing here and we're going to leave. But that property goes back to the family by title. And so I'd hate to chase that Catholic seminary off the hill because of traffic and other people, going through the church.
This would be emergency only.
It would be an entrance, period, he said.
No, it's emergency only.
Emergency only.
Okay. Okay. Anyway, questions I had. Let's see, what was it? Crud. Oh, at one time, the two churches, by the way, the Catholics, the college, by the way, was a Catholic college out of San Diego, because I spoke with them, and they didn't come through, but they were looking at that building, the whole shot, to build a Catholic college there. The high school was, what's the one over in Ventura?
St. Bonaventure?
Yeah, St. Bonnie's was looking. And then they changed their mind because they want to put them over and see me somewhere. And so I think that's where they went. But that were the two that were looking at
Well,
one time.
the real problem with that is that the buildings that were built, the construction techniques that were used for the college buildings at the time they were constructed in the late 50s and 60s did not meet the seismic requirements for schools in California. That was a big problem, because I was involved with the private high school at the time, trying to see if they could be located there, and just wasn't feasible. You'd have to basically tear down all the buildings and start over again, even if the...
But the high school wasn't looking at that building. They were looking at a whole new site. But it didn't come forward, so it didn't go forward.
Oh.
They changed it and put it in Simi. That's what they said there. Go ahead.
Okay.
You have questions? Any more?
Do you have an idea on pricing on what these are going to come out at?
The coach came to me.
Yes, right now the market research is showing in the 500s up to the mid-8s at this point.
Say that again?
Starting in the 5s up to the mid-8s. That's what our market research is showing now.
Okay. All right.
And I think we've asked this question, I'm sorry, can I keep going? We've asked this question last time. Tell us the difference between this and Leisure Village that we already have here in the community.
Right. This is a much more intimate, smaller community. It's really attracting age demographic that usually these attract around 57 and up. Very high quality construction, very active resident component, and a new high quality senior option for the city.
Okay. Any other questions?
One more.
Yeah.
The affordables, did I see
Correct.
there'd be about 10%?
That's what we would be requesting, 10% moderate.
As affordable, 10% of the total unit, or 10% of one model, or 10% of the total units?
We've had preliminary discussions with city about that and have been advised that it would be spread across all, most likely be spread across all floor plans.
The affordable housing would be accomplished in accordance with our density bonus ordinance.
Okay. All right. Any other questions of either of the gentlemen? No. Okay. Thank you. Stand by for
Thank you.
questions afterwards. Okay. We have some cards here where people want to express themselves. Tom Underwood. Please state your name for the record, please.
Yeah, my name is Tom Underwood, and I want to thank everybody for being here. In this community itself, especially in Camarillo, we have some unique opportunities here. Originally, my wife and I are from Santa Barbara. We've lived here for over 30 years. During the time that before we moved here, I was in cattle ranching, then again in agriculture and different development and so on and so on. And, I'm in favor of this development, and I'd like to have the opportunity, which you've given me, to explain to you why. My background over the last 30 years has been in development, construction, building hospitals, maintaining facilities. I currently maintain 60 facilities, and up to about 3 years ago, I had 70 facilities and 2 hospitals. These are local facilities. I also was the one that renovated and got back the Santa Paula Hospital. Myself and Mike, who is the head of the county right now, Powers, worked on that project in the mid-2000s to get that going. I believe you've asked many questions council has about this project. I also have looked into this project over the years, and most recently a little bit more in depth as to what these two gentlemen are proposing. When we ran cattle, the most important thing was water. And I understand that there's a lot of opposition pertaining to water use and shutting housing developments and stuff down. When you look at the water for that area there, just to maintain the agriculture there, it's going to equate out to the same amount. And that's from soup to nuts. That's from the beginning to the end. That's the digging and the rest. The main concern I have is I have walked that property. I've looked at that area. The runoff from that has contaminated the entire valley that's there. I don't know if anybody lives up in that area. I know, Mike, you've driven by there a couple times during the rainy storms. So has Jan. I'm sure, Kevin, you have. And you'll look and see at the runoff. And that runoff is from the chemicals and stuff from the agriculture. Those trees are dead. They need to be gone. I don't believe you can reuse that area. As far as the high schools looking at it, you're absolutely correct, Mr. Mayor. I am very familiar because I am an OSHPD licensed inspector as well. So, yes, SB 1961, the Seismic Safety Act that OSHPD came into effect, you're never going to be able to build a high school there. Not unless you've got ultra money and you can run pylons and the rest. There's just no possible way based on the type of soil amendments, the soils there and such, that with the earthquake faults that run through our valley. The other reason is because this is a no load. It's really, in my book, a no-brainer. There's no load on the high school there. This is a 55 and older community that probably is going to have 600 to 800 people. In my estimation, again, I haven't got the information from them, just from what I've researched in some of the other trilogy areas. So you've got maybe 600, 700 people, maybe 800 people in there, and the direct revenue is going to be at least $3 million right from the get-go. And that's just going to be in property taxes. The indirect, as far as doing business, is going to be probably twice that. I understand the time is up.
Yeah.
My wife was going to fill a card out, so I'd like to take her time from her. Okay? But just let me say this in closing.
Wrap up your
This community is a small community. It's not a large development. It's a very unique fit. It's one that we can be proud of as a city. This allows us to be able to transition from the homes that we're in that can afford a family of 6 all the way down to 2 without having to buy a house that has a family of 6 intended for it. So this allows us to have some sustainability, which I think is what we need to look at. And finally, shame on me for not coming forward and helping you with all your different projects. Now, I'm not talking about theirs now. I'm talking about the rest. As far as the internet and the rest of the stuff, and there is a way to monitor it. I'm more than happy to sit down and discuss it with you. It costs nothing. I monitor all the medical equipment, all the pharmaceutical stuff, everything. Power, frequency monitors, they're out there. So you can tell if somebody's not using these towers.
You're going to have to wrap it up.
So anyway, thank you. I never promised to be short. I hope the project goes through. And I'm willing to come back and help any way I can.
Thank you.
May I ask a question, Your Honor?
Sure.
You talked about the soils. You said you wouldn't put a high school there.
Correct.
You wouldn't use it for ag.
Correct.
So why should we put people there?
Well, it's a completely different application. The reason why you don't put agriculture, and I'll
I
share with you.
understand that when you're
So real quick, we used to ranch everything above La Conchita. We knew where to irrigate and where not to. I've looked at this soil. The reason why La Conchita had the mudslide was because of the avocado and orchards up there, the oversaturated. So what I'm saying is, when you look at there, and I built the homes here, I built homes in North Ranch, I know how their little boutique communities have helped the value of the area. So as far as the soils, that's what I'm referring to. When I talk
So
about
it's
the
not
high school, it had.
contaminated or something.
Pardon me?
So it's not contaminated, it's just
No.
the irrigating that you're doing.
Correct,
Okay.
correct.
All righty.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Thank you. Lori Rotovic.
Good evening, Honorary Mayor and Council members. My name is Lori Rotvik. You did say it correctly.
Thank you.
And I'm here this evening on behalf of my parents to talk about the St. John's Seminary development by Shea Homes. I'm asking our council this evening to allow for the process of the updated active adult proposal. My parents are senior citizens. They have lived in this community, they have lived in Camarillo for 50 years, and they wouldn't live anywhere else. They also will be looking to move into a senior community. At this point for them, Camarillo Springs is not an option. that was at one point. It is not now. I feel the St. John's Seminary development would be a very viable option for them. I think that not only would it be a very comfortable place, a very viable place for them, not only is it a great option, but it could become a great reality, not only for my parents, but for the senior citizens of this community as well. Thank you so much for listening to me.
Thank you.
Any questions of Lori? Thank you very much. That's
You're
very
welcome.
nice.
Thank you.
Bob Yoder.
I'm Bob Yoder with Shea Homes. Mayor and council members, thank you for your time and attention. I just wanted to hit a couple points, reinforce, and appreciate the thorough staff report. In addition to everything that's been said about the schools and the high schools, and it's really a compatibility issue for the seminary and the archdiocese. They don't see that as a compatible use. So even if the buildings worked and it was financially viable, they feel that it's not. They really like what we've kind of drifted to, and I apologize for taking them so long to get here, but they feel that this kind of age-restricted is much more compatible with what they want, which is quiet surroundings and all that. So I think I wanted to point out the compatibility. Another point is we have a lot of experience in this. The Shea Trilogy brand is really the premier active lifestyle community. Those are big master plans. This, as Kevin explained, this is kind of a boutique. We are building in the Gavilan community, so we've done product there. We have a couple more products on the way. So we've studied this consumer a lot. And it's not, it's honestly, it is not for everybody. This consumer wants to engage in the social part of it. There's a lot of people that like to age in their existing home. But for the people that want this and want to downsize and want to lower their maintenance, it's very popular. And we think, this not only serving Camarillo, but the general region, it'll do very, very well. Then I guess there was a little discussion on the gate. We prefer a gate. It doesn't have to have a gate if that becomes a product issue. We're talking a lot of specifics. Our goal really tonight is to continue the referral that you had approved before, and we feel this is just I guess it's option 2. It's the amendment because we're morphing the project just a little bit, but it fits well within the envelope of what we were studying before. The products and everything we've shown are subject to kind of, refinement. I guess that's really it. I just wanted to share that, Shea's very experienced. We think this is a really special and unique property, and we're privileged to be able to work on it. We're disappointed that we've been working on it this long, but we think we've landed in the right place, and we look forward to, bringing this forward. We've got a long way to go in terms of public outreach, going through the public process. We're not asking for approval of this project. We're asking for the approval of the continuance of the referral so that we can go through the public process. Thank you.
I have a question, Bill.
Yes.
Just one question before you go.
Yes, sir.
With this current project and the fact that it's a lot less dense than what the original one, would it be a fair assumption to assume that the amount of money that's going to be given back to the Archdiocese will probably be less than potentially it could have been?
It is. And honestly, it's, in all honesty, it's one of the reasons we've, took us a while to get to this because in theory, if the other project was approved, it would have been more valuable, and that value does go to the Archdiocese. But given the climate, and we think in response to the comments we've gotten from the neighbors, we think this fits better. So we think it's much more approvable, and one of the big issues with our adjacent homeowners was value retention. This, we think, will prop up values. Even though it's affordable price points, or relatively at a price per foot, it really supports the surrounding values. So you're right, it does. The bottom line back to the diocese is less than in theory if this denser plan was approved, but we're hopeful that we can actually advance this and generate what's available.
Thank you. And just to follow up, all that money that will be generated, whatever it may be from this project or whatever, goes towards the endowment for the seminary's operations. Am I correct?
Correct. They have an existing endowment. So when the Doheny's donated the library, and they weren't required to create an endowment with that, but they had some reserves from that. So they have an existing endowment, but it only partially funds the operations. So our deal, like I tried to explain, it's a little unique. We will value normally a developer, you peg the price on the land and you take the risk is up or down. So if we, if the project gets worth more, the developer would benefit. In this case, the price doesn't get set until we get our entitlement. So they generate, they get all the value of the project. We would get a normal kind of a profit on homes, developer profit, but we wouldn't get, the typical profits that you would expect. But yes, every penny of it will go to the endowment, and the goal would be, to get rid of the subsidy. We're not sure if we'll be able to get quite that much to it, but I think we'll be close.
Okay.
Can I ask for a clarification on that? So what they're getting is you're going to buy the land from them, and you're going to buy it at an increased price because you have the entitlements and so forth and so on.
That's exactly.
But then once the land is built, everything else as far as land is bought, then the buildings and so forth, that's all Shea's.
Exactly. Yeah. So, we take, what would happen is hopefully, over the course of the time, this is going to take still a couple of years. It's not going to happen right away, and then we'd have to go through the allocation process and all that. But over the course of those years, the revenues will change. And so at the point in time we're approved, we'll peg it at that point in time. So from then on, we take the risk. If revenues shot up from then or they go down, it's our gain or loss. But you're exactly right.
Okay, any other questions? Yes.
The Gutenberg Bible used to be there. It was there in those library? It was in the library. Gutenberg Bible was.
One volume.
Yeah, but that was very, very expensive, one of the main volumes. And they sold it to put it into the endowment for the library. Did it go there?
I'm not familiar with that particular,
Just curious. Going to make sure that the seminary stays alive.
Well, they're committed. I will tell you, with the change in leadership with Archbishop Gomez, he is very committed to that goal. Their enrollment has increased. They were really kind of waning. They're up to about 93 seminarians now, which is a big bump from where they were 3 years ago. So they're committed to preserving it.
Okay, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Bob. The next one is Brittany Holmes. Please identify yourself for the record.
Hi there. My name is Brittany Holmes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I'm actually also here on behalf of my parents. I speak to you today because I am actually the cause of an empty nest for my parents. I'm a student going to school for my MBA, and my parents generally fall within the demographic of people that would be interested in a development like this. And I say that because my parents aren't at an age where, they're looking to necessarily slow down, but a community like this would allow them to be, with residents that are, within their age group, and would allow them to be in an area maybe that would be less maintenance than the home that they currently live in, which is now, as I said, an empty nest. In addition, I believe also that, this city has a great history of working closely with businesses in order to benefit the community as far as housing. And I just really believe that this housing community is a really great fit for the city of Camarillo in general. I've grown up here myself, and I've noticed that the demographic in this city, is very suited to a development like this, and I would really encourage the council to vote to, to support option 1 here and to continue to work with Shea Homes.
I have a question.
Yeah, question.
Just out of curiosity, do your parents live in Camarillo?
Yes, they do.
Thanks.
Anyone else? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Edward O'Donnell.
Good evening. I'm Ed O'Donnell. And presently, I live at 5930 Heritage Place here in Camarillo. I've been a resident of Camarillo since 1977, and as my family has grown, I've bought bigger and bigger homes. Now, I'm a single nester with a 4-bedroom, 3-bath home, and I really would like to downsize and really would like to get a single-story home. It makes sense for me. I belong to the parish of Padre Serra. I have been here for many years. I really don't want to move. My doctors are here. My family's here. My grandchildren are here. They go to Terra Linda and to other schools, Montessori. But I don't need a 4-bedroom, 3-bath home. It's just cut to the chase. And my neighbors, before I came here tonight, I asked them, would you downsize? And 7 out of the 10 are all single nesters too, with 4-bedroom, 3-bath homes. They're the Party Heritage Tract. This project is just, to me, outstanding. It gives me the opportunity to, first of all, be close to my church, be close to the banks, people, my friends, family, same shopping, everything is the same, but it gives me the opportunity to stay in my neighborhood. I hope you'll let them continue the process. I really mean that. There's such a high demand for single-level homes, our single-family homes that are one level, especially a person like myself that has problems walking. Walking upstairs is a killer. Especially in my situation, they get worse. I'd like to downsize. I'd like to stay in the neighborhood. I know many, many people would like to do that too. And when I asked my neighbors, why are you staying? They said, if I sell, where am I going to go? And they really want to stay in Camarillo, and I know I do too. So I really hope you'll give this consideration. It's a great project. It looks great. I go to church about 4 times a week. I see the trees. They're all dying up there. I mean, it's time for it to be changed and move forward with the seminary, give them a chance, and of course, it gives people like myself a chance to stay in the neighborhood. And I thank you all very much for your time. Any questions?
Thank you, Ed.
What mass do you
Yes.
attend? Curiosity.
9 o'clock. I see Kevin there.
You must be at 11.
I can't hear you.
You must be at 11.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions?
Any questions of Mr. McDowell? O'Donnell? Okay, thank you very much. Roy Villa.
Negative.
Identify yourself for the record, Roy.
Yeah, Roy Villa, 5476 Quail Ridge. I'm here to support the option number 3, the rescinding of this general amendment. As you know, the regional housing needs are fulfilled up to 2021, so there's no need to move on this project. Number 2, you just approved last month 130 units, a general plan amendment. With this 290, you're looking at 400 just in the past month. So I don't see this as an urgent thing. And I'd like to speak to a market that no one has spoken to this tonight, and that's the millennial generation. Kids that are like, well, they're not kids, but 20 in their early 30s that are looking for homes, and they can't find it. We all know there's an affordability problem, and they can't afford I think the reported $550 price, even if there were, if there wasn't an age restriction. So I think you're concentrating on a market that you shouldn't be. You should be looking at more modest, affordable units. Also, the website, the housing element on the city website says there's approximately 3,600 homes existing that appeals to 55 or over. So that's a lot of homes. Currently, and I checked tonight, there's 10 homes listed for sale under 500. 10 homes. 2 of them are detached. 8 are single family. There's other homes, but they're senior homes. So the other thing is, over the past year, we've heard Many of you say you're going to protect the green belts, the ag land, you're going to oppose high-density homes, and you've asked the public to be water-wise. We see this sign all over. But to approve these number of units, is that water-wise when we have a shortage? You asked the staff to do get into the details of the financial arrangement between Shea and the Archdiocese. Why is that important? Why, whether Shea makes $2 or the Archdiocese makes $5 or $5,000, why is that a criteria for moving forward or not? That should not be the case. You should judge this project on the community needs, not the seller's needs. And the community needs more affordable housing. It's a worn-out word, and nothing gets done. It's because we're building these types of projects. So I'd ask you to redirect yourself and concentrate on more modest homes for Camarillo, because that's what these younger people need.
Thank you. Merrill Burgee.
Good evening, Council, Mayor Little, council members, and staff. It is too bad that this project has come to us at this point in time. The January 2015 Community Development Report documents the current residential activity. Springville, 384 apartments just finished, and soon 800 more dwelling units to be built along the 101. Village at the Park, 224 more units there. Village Gateway, apartments and condos numbering 620 units. Over 2,000 residential units already approved and in the works and soon to be built. Add the St. John's Seminary Shea Homes, 290 units, and the Santa Rosa off-ramp condo complex of 130 units, and we have a total of nearly 2,500 units. A 10% increase in Camarillo housing, most approved to be built. This is 250 units over our 2013-2021 RENA planning number. This would be a total of 58 separate projects for the planning department to oversee and manage. Why more development when we are in the fourth year of a severe drought and the last 13 years have been the warmest on record? When we are being asked to replace our lawns while our water rates escalate and a $50 million desalter is far from a reality. What public benefit does this Shea Homes development provide? It will convert a farmland property to an exclusive gated community with only a small park for the public sited by the railroad tracks. We urge you to vote for option 3 and rescind this referral. This project can be considered, brought to you again in the future. When the housing we have is brought online, housing is needed, and we have brought online a reliable supplemental source of potable water. I can't believe I'm actually saying this to you, but please, be conservative, be prudent. Sound investments and decisions are based on the ability to recognize emerging trends and adapt to new realities. There is no reason except for more housing to overextend our community housing commitments and overtax our resources at this time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you. Beatrice Montalvo.
Good evening, members of the council. My name is Beatrice Montalvo. I've lived in Camarillo for just a tad over a quarter of a century. And I don't have to tell you, you've probably been serving longer than I have, that a lot of houses have gone up in that time. And it's not the city that I moved into way back when. I'm really concerned that we stood here last fall and the citizens in numbers of hundreds literally overflowed into the entry and into the sidewalk outdoors to let you know that we do not want any more housing development in this city. We are chock full, and we are losing our green space to the tune of thousands of houses coming. I think it's a travesty. We will not have much green space to lose if we continue approving these projects. I ask you to exercise option 3 tonight and rescind, because our community values the green space. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Matthew Lorimer.
Matt Lorimer, live in the city of Camarillo. You know, we have a problem in this city. We keep, development is getting out of control. It looks like we're turning into the San Fernando Valley. This project looks like the stepbrother to the Canal Creek project. 600 cars, they said they're building 300 units. That's 600 cars. How are you going to mitigate that? How are you going to mitigate the traffic? And let me remind this council, June of last year, you said, let me quote you, this is the worst drought we've seen in a decade. You said, you called for a stage 2 alert. You said you're only going to allow your citizens to water your lawn 3 days a week. That's what you said. Also, during the debates, people were asked about Caltrans, why the city hasn't come up with, they still do not have a system for rideshare. Ms. Craven said on that committee, she was asked, how many times have you met with Caltrans? She said, quote, 1 time. Again, this city cannot handle it. You have one freeway. You have the 101. This isn't the middle of the San Fernando Valley. We have the 405, the 5 are different freeways. You cannot mitigate this. This is the same, like I said, it's the stepbrother to the Canal Creek project. 300 units, and they say, well, it's going to be 55-year-olds, and they don't have kids, and they're really not going to travel a lot. Really? 55-year-old person is just going to stay at home and stay in the community and play bingo. What world are you coming from? You know, you can spin this, developers, any way you want, but you keep coming to this city. Your council here keeps approving these projects, and this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Well, I know there's people getting older. There's a lot of houses for sale. There's a lot of options. This is not an option to put 300 units in a small town like Camarillo. You couldn't mitigate the Canal Creek project. You can't mitigate this. You can spin it to the public. This is more of the same. And let me remind you, 2 weeks ago, Mr. Morgan also was on board with the other project. So again, I think it's very disturbing that we're going to go down this route again because it can't be mitigated. And again, that's 600 cars, those trips, smog. I want to know how you're going to mitigate this. I don't think you can do it. And if anybody thinks that 600 cars are just going to stay in one part of the town, you're in another world. That's called fantasy land. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to comment to the City Council? Okay, we'll move on and turn it back to the City Council. Any comments? Yeah. Jan.
May I ask a couple of questions of staff? Can you tell us at the moment, and Mrs. Berge gave us some numbers, tell us how many projects you're now overseeing between the Community Development Department, the Public Works Department and their land use piece, and then maybe when you talk about Public Works, tell us how many CIP projects you're also managing at the moment.
Okay, yes. Combined with land development, the Community Development Department and Public Works Land Development is currently working on 45 approved projects. These are various complexities. They include residential, commercial, industrial, and institutional projects. And it could be as simple as reviewing a parcel map for conformance with the Subdivision Map Act, or more complicated projects such as grading and improvement plans, and planning department plan check of a multi-unit apartment building. So the number is approximately 45. There are 11 pending entitlement projects that are also currently under review with the Public Works Land Development Department and Community Development Departments. And those are projects that are in the entitlement review stage. And then finally, there are 24 active CIP projects under review by the Public Works Capital Improvements Project Division.
Okay. And I think the other, if I might, the other statistic that I would like is the number of senior or age-restricted units we have, and not only the apartments and so forth, but the number in Leisure Village, the number in Camarillo Springs. So what do we currently have in the city of Camarillo that fits into this same kind of criteria?
In terms of restricted affordable units, we have information, but we don't have information on all of the entitled age-restricted units in the city. But in terms of affordable age-restricted, I have that information. And there's a total of 412, and that's divided amongst 3 projects. One is the Mar Vista Village that has 304 units, then the Park Glen Seniors, which has 18 units, and then the Ponderosa Village, which is 90 units.
Does anybody know how many units Leisure Village has?
I think there's approximately 2,300.
That's right.
Correct.
That's correct.
And how about Camarillo Springs?
Only part of Camarillo Springs is age restricted.
Right, only part.
Does anybody know?
I don't know the Camarillo Springs answer.
See, here it got flooded.
Yeah, okay. I think those were my questions. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, any other questions?
I had a question.
Mike?
That'll come back to me. Go ahead.
I've got a couple of questions. Number one is, how many houses were built in this city of all kinds, between 2007 and 2012?
2.
Thank you.
2 houses.
And how many allotments were given out?
And how many expired?
There were a couple of years when we really didn't have many allotments, but generally we will get 400 each year. I think it's maybe 1 or 2 of those years during the recession we didn't. We came under that amount. Yeah.
Did any of them expire?
No, we don't have any expired allotments.
Yeah, they can. Their plan may expire.
Well, if their plan does, yeah.
That's right. I'm telling you, it can expire.
So none
Okay.
expired, okay.
So roughly, with a couple of years with 0, it'd be about 1,200 over the 5-year period.
Well, I think there were 2 years we had like 150.
I know we've
Anyway,
always
we had
had
slow
something.
economy. We had very few units going in. You're correct. Now everybody's catching up, and so it's still only 400 units a year.
Oh, we had some years that weren't
I'm saying now.
400, Yeah.
It's just catch-up time.
Well, if we had two homes built over a period of 5 years, 6 years,
Mm-hmm.
those 6 years would have produced 2,400 approved units if there was a market for it, so,
Any other questions?
which is about where we are. Okay, any other questions? I got one question of the developers. Could you talk a little bit more about this public park and what you envision to be the public park at and Trailhead?
Absolutely. John Danvers again, Shea Homes. The concept for the park is a agricultural heritage park. As Kevin mentioned, there's an existing craftsman bungalow type structure there that will be preserved as part of the park. The existing orchards would be amenitized and spiffed up and used as a demonstration facility for the agricultural history and practices of the region. We've discussed potentially doing some kind of wetlands demonstration area as well for public education, and then providing ample parking for access to the trails.
Okay. With the city trails that start up there and go down through Cayugas Creek.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
May I ask one question? I just forgot to remember, and it would be for the developer. Let's talk about water. Do you have any, you would be in Camarillo Water District, correct?
Correct. We're in Camarillo Water District.
And have they given you any indication that they can or are willing to serve you?
They previously have, and that has since changed. When we first drafted the EIR, they were prepared to serve. They then enacted a temporary moratorium on new water demand. We negotiated with them extensively a couple of different ways to generate that new water. And keep in mind, the property does have an existing water entitlement with it. It was an active, used, facility. Plus, it has a well that's used for irrigating the orchards. So all those things combined, we did come to a near agreement with them. Then Camarillo has made their temporary moratorium a permanent moratorium, and we are now talking to them about some other alternatives. What we had landed on previously was a non-potable water system that would create storage and pumping to deliver non-potable water to other areas within the city, thereby freeing up the water demand we would need for ours. We're now understanding they don't have the ability to produce enough non-potable water to operate a system like that, so we're talking to them about other options such as well and treatment units.
Is that part of the seminary? That's where the orchard is, next to the railroad track. Is that seems like that would be in the city? That part? No. Or is that still
this particular piece right here at the
one
corner?
That's on the, yeah. See where the railroad track is right there?
Yes.
Okay. Everything on that side of the creek is normally us.
That could very well be. That could very well. We weren't interested in generating a new water demand for that area.
Yes.
But yeah, you could be right.
That part is, I'm sure, in the city.
Yeah, but the houses are going to be in the Camarillo.
It doesn't matter. We're talking about, I'm just asking him if that part's in the city. It may be. That's what it is.
But Camarillo, what you're saying is Camarillo is insisting that you generate enough water to offset any increased demand. Is that what I understand you?
Correct. No new.
And you will not get a will serve letter until you show that that is feasible.
We have to come up with a way to create any shortfall from our plan.
Which is what the city of Camarillo is doing with a number of our projects also. So, okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Any comments? Charlotte, you have any comments?
Well, when Jan asked that this be brought back, I supported her because I think that 7 years is way too long for this to have, or 8 years now, for this to have lingered. I think we also need some kind of a policy that after so many years, the referral expires. And I hope somebody's working on that. We've gone through a lot of houses in the last while. Through the approval process of one form or another, and we're looking at a lot. I just don't see any reason to add these right now. So I'm with option number 3.
Okay. Kevin?
Well, I think if you look at what we're trying to do here, the timing when you develop is never perfect. It's a never perfect timing, and development is predicated on the strength of the economy. When the economy is bad, you don't develop anything. When the economy is good, then things get developed here. If you look at prime agriculture land, which this is different than the Conejo, because the Conejo is prime agriculture land, this is not. This is not being used for anything now. I'm not aware of it ever. Any project for having it go back to agriculture right now. And I got to tell you, when land is not maintained, it goes down real quick, and it becomes a hazard pretty quick as well, too. I had asked earlier what other usage that this land could have, and I'm not aware of anything viable. There is potential other uses, but I'm not aware of anything viable right now with this. We have a senior citizen population in our city. It's growing. I'm concerned about the schools and the fact that whether or not we're going to be able to have younger people move into the city. It was brought up that Camarillo is an expensive place to live, and it is. I'd certainly like to see more affordables too. This perhaps could open up some of the seniors that are living here and are overhoused, if you will, into something that's more entailed to what they are in their living arrangements right now, especially single story. There's a big demand for single stories. Houses in Camarillo do not stay on the market very long now, and there's some pretty significant reasons for it. It's a wonderful place to live. I deal with people that don't want any growth, and I deal with people that want some growth. I run the gamut on this. So the question that I have, if not now, when, and if we can't figure out what we want to do with this tonight, what's going to make the difference that we're going to be able to come up with something 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, or 5 years? Is the property going to go anywhere? No, it's going to be there. There's no question about that, but it's sat for probably 6 to 7 years right now. And I would think that we could start this process here and strongly consider option number 2. It is a lot different from the first project here. There's a demand for this. If they can't get the water, they're not going to build the homes here. It's as simple as that. If they can't procure the water rights, the homes aren't going to be built here. But this starts a process. There'll be plenty more public opportunities to chime into this and see if this will be a benefit or not. But this looks like something that at least has some merits to at least go forward with this at this particular point and see if there's any legs. We're probably talking 2 to 3 years before anything happens up there if we do anything with this. So this is a long-term project here, and if you look at the quality of it, I think it's far better than what it is right now.
Your Honor?
Yes.
Well, when I asked for this to come back, there were 2 reasons. One, that it had sat for so many years and we hadn't heard about it, and we are working on policy committee, reviewed a new policy or an update to the policy referring to referrals and the time frame involved. But the other side of it is that I'd gone to see the presentation and I realized that it had changed very much in concept. And I also understood that they were going to really have to basically start over with the whole new EIR and all the expenses of that. And it seemed to me to be the time to review it and decide if the timing was even right for this. And so for that reason, I asked that we look at it. And I will say that it's a much better project than we saw before, much better. Unfortunately, timing's everything in life, and I don't think the timing's right for this. We have enough in the pipeline. Our staff has got enough work to do without having to deal with one more referral and going through the process. Because I can guarantee you we add a few more to this, and 2 weeks ago you added another project. We're going to be hearing they're going to need more staff just to process of all these things. So we've got enough work on our plate right now. The water, Camarillo is very wisely saying no more, and we have to say no more until we figure out how to maintain what we have in a way that we can all survive before we add any more to the mix. And so I doubt very much that in the near future they're going to be able to come up with a solution to that. As far as the funding, one of the reasons that we had asked the question on what the funding would be is that it was being used a little bit as an excuse why to do this so that it would help maintain the seminary and increase the endowment. Personally, I don't think that's the reason you make land use decisions in the city of Camarillo, whether we're helping the endowment and whether we are helping the Catholic Church help fund or not have to subsidize the seminary. But that's the reason that came into the conversation. Also, we do not need this to meet our housing element or RENA numbers, and we know that if you build them ahead of time, you don't get to count them in the next cycle. So we really ought to save this for the future. The land's not going anywhere. Right now it's not using much water. let's save something for the future and let some future council deal with what's going to be put there. But we really don't even need to have it in the mix right now. It looks like a good project at the right time and the right place. You could probably get excited about this one. But I'm afraid that, to me, timing's everything, and this just isn't the right time for this. And rather than spending more money on it right now and have it hang out there for another 4 or 5 years, I would just rather back off and have it come back later, and it might be even a better plan when it comes back again. So for that reason, I would support option number 3.
Well, number 1, I heard some speakers this evening talking some stuff about this, that, and the other. One talking about we need more affordable housing. Yet when that affordable housing came up, they were against it. Along the freeway, there's affordable housing right now. They were against it. The other one, Camp Springs, or the first time this project came forward, that's what it was. Too much affordable housing. There's a lot of it. Against it. Okay? So that is kind of some inconsistencies on in that issue. Around town right now, if you look at Zillow today, you know what Zillow is? It's that thing you find out how many houses are for sale, and those are going under, have the little blue marks on them. We have more than we ever had now for sale. And they're pretty decent, not bad prices around town. And a lot of those are one story that could fit in. Look up Zillow, you'll see it. I was busy with it all day long just looking at it. I'm amazed how many are for sale. Anyway, things are going, right now, the economy, I think you're looking at the interest rates going up and a lot of other things affecting the economy. And I think we're going to get into that same situation. And looking at this, it's not so much a project. Project's great. You guys put together a very, very good project. I think the timing is wrong. I think we've got at least 4 years before any other permits can come out. Because someone said something about 2. Oh, we got others ahead of you that need to get their permits. And those are affordable housing. So if you're looking for it, that's what's being built in a lot of those permits. And we have to look at that because we have 10,000 students going to be here not too long. Other thing, too, that really is one of my main things is water. And I've been a water concerned person for a long, long time. First year I was elected, it said, article in the paper, Morgan says water's main issue, back in 1980. So it's coming. And I think that right now, with the rain we did not get, and the summer coming out, hot summer, and with only 23% of our snowpack up there now, the hot summer coming, we're going to be in deep stuff. I don't see how we can do any more projects until we have at least a desalination plant or something like that take its place and give us water. And that's why the other side has said no others, because they don't have the resources. I think we won't either. And that's why I'm saying tonight, I'm not going to vote on this. I'm going to do number 3 because of certain things, water and other items. But you have a good project.
Well, it seems like I can tell where this vote's going. However, I'm going to state my case. First of all, someone said we should be building houses for the millennials. Well, we are. We're building apartments. That's where that's where they are living now. And there's 32% of that population of millennials are living at home still, 18 to 34. So it's a different market, and they're looking at it differently. Someone said, well, we don't need to worry about preserving the seminary because, why are we doing this for the Catholic Church? Imagine if the seminary closes. Then you think you got a problem now with that land? You got a huge problem with it, because it reverts back to whatever heirs there are to the Camarillo family, and you could bet you they're not going to turn it into a seminary or another church. They're going to come in here and want to really develop it. So and the fact is that the seminary and its staff, faculty, and students do a lot of good for this community and this whole Ventura County, and they need to be protected in the sense of being able to maintain their college. I think there's a big need for senior citizen housing, restricted senior citizen housing. if you don't, if you don't want to live in Leisure Village, there really is no place for you to go if you try to downsize in this community. Absolutely no place. I can tell you because I've looked around and to see if there's a place that my wife and I could downsize, and it's not there. Leisure Village is your only alternative, and it's a nice place. I have nothing against it. It's just that it's too big for me and for what we want in our lives. I've had more people come to me in the last 2 to 3 weeks or 4 weeks, whenever this has been in the newspapers, supporting this. You saw them tonight. They came out and supported it. So it's a needed housing use, and I think it would be an asset to this community. I had a very close friend who they lived in this town something like 35 years, and the only place that they could find to downsize to that they wanted to get in was University Village in Thousand Oaks. Now that's a shame if we have people that live in this community for 35 years have to move out in order to find a suitable place to downsize. I think this use is well justified and it should be approved. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like it's going to be. So,
Your Honor?
Yes.
I would move to rescind the general plan amendment, referral to Shea Homes, St. John's Seminary, and direct staff to stop processing the general plan amendment.
I'll second
Any
that.
discussion? Please vote. Motion was approved 3-2 with Kildee and Little voting no.